everyone, and welcome to your Week 5 lap guide for the Advanced Mazda series. My name is Adam, and this week is at Barcelona. So let's start by having a look at the hot lap. So the run down to turn 1 is relatively long on this track, which makes turn 1 quite a good passing opportunity. It's quite easy to set up a move if you go down the inside. You can stay on the outside through the left-hander and then keep the inside on the long rights. The braking point is roughly between this little light or marker here and the 100-meter board. So roughly here. Quite hard on the brake since we do come from quite a high speed and it's quite a straight braking zone. And we can use this AstroTurf here on the outside, so we can put 2 wheels on this. We can't put the inside wheels on the curb, that's going to give us enough track, but we can do it like this. And then we want to turn in about here. Trail braking quite far into the corner, so around about until here, so until just before this apex. And we can actually take quite a lot of liberty with track limits on the apex here. We can go beyond this sausage curb here. On this lap, I actually missed it ever so slightly, so I hit the inside wheels on the curb. But you can do it so that the inside wheels go even beyond this curb and don't touch it. It doesn't really matter that much. You can go outside of the curb, or you can hit the curb with the inside wheels. It's going to be maybe half a tenth slower, but it can be more consistent because there is a slowdown here. If you do touch this gravel on the inside, you will get a slowdown. So you do need to be quite careful with that. It's something you would need to practice. Getting on the throttle quite hard, almost full throttle here. Here we are already on full throttle. And we can eat this curb quite a lot. Putting even the outside wheels on the white line here. Just to open up the entry for this next right-hander. And we can lift just a bit. And that's once again to open up the entry here to get further to the left. But what we want to aim for is roughly the middle of the track, or even slightly to the left. And then this long right-hander turn 3 requires just a bit of a lift. So like 50% throttle, just to get the car turned in. Then full throttle all the way through. We can let the car out to roundabout here. inside of the white line, but if we do let the car out onto the Astro here, it's gonna suck the car out, and you're not gonna get a good line. So this is roughly where you want to be as furthest. And then we just stay to the outside here. As we enter turn 4, we can even go onto this curb here with both wheels. That's not going to be enough track. And we brake just before this white line. Braking not that hard, about 50 or 40%. And we want to carry the brake almost into the apex and get on throttle quite early because the corner opens up on exit. You can let the car out quite wide, around about the car width from the exit curb here. We don't need to keep the car tight like we do in more high power cars. We can let the car out quite wide. And then returning to the right hand side before this turn 5. This curb has quite a lot of grip and it's quite flat, so we can brake on the curb just to open up our entry. But we do want to avoid this inside curb. That's just because the curb is quite high, so the car is going to lean out if we use the curb, and that's going to push us out to the outside. Getting on the throttle around the apex, quite early on throttle and quite a lot of throttle, and we want to use the whole curb here on the exit, so we can go even almost into the gravel here, and that's not going to be enough track, which allows us to carry quite a lot of speed. Sticking roughly to the middle of the track, just so we can get to the outside again before turn 6. Braking roughly 60%, and keeping the car to the outside until we start actually turning in here, which we do about here. So you don't want to go too early on entry, because that's going to give you a much slower run up the hill. Early on the throttle. Here we are at the apex, and I'm already at about 80% throttle. And we can use lots of track here. This curb is quite high, but the car is quite soft, so you can use it quite a lot, and it's not going to upset the car. Which allows us to carry more speed and use this Astro here, because we can run over this curb without losing speed. Getting the car back to the left-hand side, and turn 9 here is actually quite easy in this car. You just need a slight lift to get the car turned in, and then it's just flat all the way through. You can use this curb to help you sort of rotate the car. Of course, you don't want to hit the sausage, that's gonna throw you off. But if you use the Astro on the inside here after the curb, that's gonna suck the car into the corner quite nicely. And that's gonna give you quite a lot of rotation, which I find quite nice. And on exit, you can use most of the curb. You can go all the way out here, but what you need to be careful of is you need to return to the track quite quickly. If you stay on this curb until it ends, you're gonna get an off track. So you need to return to the track very quickly. And then using that speed all the way down to the hairpin, which is once again quite a good overtaking opportunity. Braking just before the 100-meter board. Very hard on the brakes. And we turn in actually relatively late, so round about here. Don't want to go beyond this curb. It's not an off track, but it's just gonna slow you down because the curb is rough. But you can put your wheels here. That's just gonna give you a better line. And early on the throttle, and you can use this sausage here on the exit. I didn't on this lap. I went just inside of it, but if you do put a wheel on it, it's not gonna matter that much, because the car has quite a lot of traction, not that much power, and is quite soft. So the curb actually doesn't upset your traction that much. So you can do that if you want. This left-right combination here, you need to. This first left is flat out. It's quite easy, but you need to use this curb here to set up your entry for the right-hander. So you go very tight on the curb here, using the curb, and you wanna go actually quite tight on the entry here because the corner is so long. braking very soft. So you start braking actually as we almost start to hit the apex. And keeping very light brake. You can see that I'm around about 5% brake all the way until here. And we just start to go on the throttle here. Keeping the car narrow. We don't really want to do a double apex. We can just keep the car narrow all the way through. And then full throttle, almost from the apex on, and using all the track on the exit. You can use this curb quite a lot, and the gravel doesn't really, like, you can go almost into the gravel. And then into the right-hander here. You do need to be a bit careful on the brakes. If you do go too hard on the brakes, you're gonna upset the rear, and you're gonna get a slide, most likely. So you do need to be quite careful in how much brake you have as you enter the corner. Like here, the car is still relatively straight, so I can brake a bit harder. But now that we're actually starting to turn in, we need to get off the brakes, because otherwise the car is gonna slide. You can use this curb here, but don't touch the sausage, because it's very high. And as we exit the right-hander, we want to keep the car a little bit away from the exit curb here, because we do want to set up the entry for the chicane here. The braking for this chicane is actually quite tricky, so I'm gonna show you that in Delta. So as we enter this final chicane here, the braking is quite critical, just because if you carry too much brake, the car is quite soft at the rear, so carrying too much brake into the corner is really gonna mess up your stability. But also you want to get the car slowed down properly. So we can, while we are going in a straight line here, we can go quite hard on the brakes, but we want to release very fast. So here, we're already at, you can see I'm at 6% here. And as we enter the corner, I'm already all the way off the brakes. If you carry brakes until here, that's gonna mess up your rotation. You're gonna get too much rotation, and that's gonna mess up your whole exit. So we want to be very careful on the brakes as we enter the corner. So now that we've entered the chicane, you want to make sure that you hit this apex. It's actually quite easy to miss if you get the braking wrong. And where you want to be is just a tiny bit from this sausage. If you hit the sausage, it upsets the car a lot. But if you miss it by a couple decimeters, that's gonna mess up your whole line for the entire chicane. So that's something you do need to practice, getting as close to this sausage curb as you can without actually hitting it. And then for the second part, keeping the car roughly middle of the track. And the same thing goes for this curb. This one you can touch ever so slightly. Like you can see, I touched it a bit here. But any more than this is just gonna upset the car, and it's gonna give you a bad exit. But you can keep quite a lot of throttle, just lifting to about 60 or 70% throttle. And that's gonna give you a good exit into the final corner, which is very straightforward. Just keeping the throttle flat, keeping the car as straight as possible, and that's a lap. So that's a lap of Barcelona. Hopefully this will help you throughout your racing. If you want to use my setup in your races, you can find that on Coach Dave Delta. Any help you might need with setup or otherwise iRacing related, you can find on the Coach Dave Academy Discord. And any further hot laps or lap guides, you can find on the Coach Dave YouTube channel. See you for week 6.